Support comes from Motherlode. Recently featured in Vogue magazine as one of the top vintage spots in Atlanta, this 10,000 square foot space features over 60 local curators and artisans who offer a variety of items from designer to kitsch and from antiques to modern. Located on Covington Highway in Avondale Estates, the store is open daily from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Browse, shop, attend an event, or wander around and get inspired. Learn more on Instagram at MotherlodeATL.
Welcome to the ATL Arts Collective, powered by ArtsATL. I'm Kim Drobes, and this is your home for stories from Atlanta's art scene with reporting from ArtsATL writers, conversations with artists, and voices from across the creative community. Each week, I'll be joined by a rotating co-host, someone you may already know or someone you're about to be very glad you met. And today, we get to welcome Chad Radford, the former longtime music editor at Creative Loafing, is the author of the book, Atlanta Record Stores, An Oral History. He's also the founder of AtL, a website devoted to the Atlanta music scene, which recently launched a live music and events calendar. He's an amplifier and an advocate for local music. And Chad, I am so happy you're here today.
Well, thank you for having me, Kim. I'm happy to be here.
It is an absolute pleasure, and we're going to get to know Chad a little more later in the show. But for right now, let's take a look at what else we have in store for you today. Coming up, the story of Kess Fest, a benefit supporting the Atlanta Musicians Emergency Relief Fund. It's taking place at Smith's Old Bar on Sunday. Plus, Gulch's Jasmine Henschel stops by with the latest edition of Making It Work, our series that explores how Atlanta creatives avoid becoming starving artists.
Later, we'll hear about the Elizabeth B. Stevens International Organ Competition, and we'll close today with ArtsATL Executive Editor Shane Harrison's top cultural recommendations for the week. But first, the True Colors Theater production of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella opened to a lively crowd recently and will run through July 5th at the Southwest Arts Center. ArtsATL writer Angela Oliver has more.
In 1997, a classic fairy tale made new magic when the twinkle of a fairy godmother met the timidity of a round-the-way girl just learning to use her voice in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. The play is inspired by the beloved film starring Brandy and Whitney Houston. But Jewel D. Lane, a College Park native and longtime choreographer now in his directorial debut, honors the film's legacy while his own flair promises young Black audiences that there's a world for them.
I think this is about really leaning into just my imagination. And I think when Jamil initially approached me, I kept thinking about well, how does Cinderella show up in my life? And I thought about the Disney version that I saw in the 5th grade. And what was interesting is that as kids watching the cartoon, everybody in the room had a level of softness. So all of the people that were the bullies or something like that, everybody leaned in, which is oh, this is so really beautiful. So I took that Cinderella made everybody feel good. And so then when I saw it in 1997, I was still in high school. It was huge because Brandy was a pop star and we all loved Whitney Houston, and that made us believe that we could do anything. And I'm well, if she's a pop star and she's doing theater and she's doing TV, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So that means there's a world for me.
Set amid the vibrance of the 1980s with an all-Black cast, the play teams with cultural callbacks, bright button and blazing dresses, asymmetrical crimped haircuts, leather Kangol, tracksuits, and double-breasted blazers that could easily dress the cast of New Jack City. Lane's choreography pulls from across the Black diaspora and its generations. Ballroom voguing, breakdancing, African dance traditions, jazz, modern footwork, hints of liturgical dance, a touch of capoeira, and the ever-adored kicks of kid and play.
Being that this is my first time, I just kind of take the tools that I've been doing as a choreographer. And, one of the things that I do is I create a lot of stories. And so we create a lot of stories in using our bodies. And so movement is my first language. And so normally the route that I take is just really being a guide and like kind of thinking about like through all my choreography commissions, I'm being a guide, just having a lot of able bodies in the room and also letting them explore too. And then me really kind of like getting inside of that exploration and dismantling and playing and shaping. And so for me, it's just about really leaning into movement and using movement as a guide to like really bring all those things out in the actors.
At any moment, the lush palace setting evokes the Caribbean, the Louisiana bayous, the Carolina Low Country, the stoops of Crooklyn, and somewhere deep in the motherland all at once. That seamlessness shows that Black culture is vast, but its rhythms remain familiar wherever we find ourselves. That sense of connection and sanctuary is among the production's greatest strengths. For Lane, theater has always been a sanctuary. An alumnus of Tri-Cities High School's Performing Arts Magnet, shout out to the class of 1998, and an alumnus of True Colors Theater, he now spends his days as director of the North Carolina School of the Arts Choreographic Institute, under the guidance of Don Axum and Tony Award winner Freddie Hendricks as a team. Lane learned discipline and professionalism that have pillared his notable career.
I went to Tri-Cities High School. It felt like I was like in a league of X-Men. And I was like, oh, all these people are weird, just like me. So that was really cool. And like being at Tri-Cities, that's where I met Dawn Axum, which was the dance teacher. And then the amazing Freddie Hendricks, who's about to receive an honorary Tony. They were my teachers and they were the ones that were just really anchoring everybody and just pulling things out of us that we didn't know exist, which was so beautiful. Thank God for them because it kind of jump-started my career in ways that I couldn't even imagine.
Now, using movement as his first language, he is reunited with the creative crew of old friends from Tri-Cities and from Hendricks' Youth Ensemble of Atlanta, such as Cinderella music director Rabbi, to craft a space of profound joy. But there's something almost impossible about watching Cinderella in 2026 and seeing it as merely a happy fairy tale. Not when so many people are being pushed to the margins. Not when talent, goodness, and hard work so often go underappreciated and exploited. Not when entire communities are still forced to prove their worth while carrying everyone else on their backs.
Just in the times that we're in, coming to the theater and witnessing this production, we need some kind of medicine that can really invoke joy and just to allow us to time travel to the 80s, allow us to see this classic tale reimagined.
Beneath the whimsy, the playful moments, and the charming romance is a story about breaking free from the margins. Whether that means standing up to bullies or evolving from society's traditions and expectations. It's about the confidence in becoming, a theme echoed in the Playbill's reminder that Cinderella's true magic is not the crown or the glass slipper, but in her ability to dream beyond her circumstances and keep moving toward a future she can feel.
I picture myself in the 5th grade, all of these beautiful brown faces watching this cartoon. It was something to give us a little bit of entertainment and hope, and we were able to pass it along. So it's like, that's what fairy tales are. It's like, well, yeah, there was a story about this girl who went to the ball and she left a glass shoe. And so we're always able to recite that because it lives in us, and I think Cinderella, because she is so magical, the thing that I want audiences to also appreciate is that you got that same magic in you.
Rising R&B singer Jalen Josie, also a Tri-Cities graduate, who is written and open for Ari Lennox, embodies that beautifully. Josie's star-making performance as Cinderella leads the production with grace, range, and emotional intelligence. Her voice feels at once like a single candle, gentle enough to coax her mouse friends from the dark corners of her room, and a roaring fire, clearing a path of her own. Even in her meekness as the shunned daughter, she insists on her own agency on a journey that is more about choosing herself than waiting to be chosen by a prince. The chemistry throughout the cast is equally compelling. Every performer arrives fully committed, bringing distinct quirks, physical comedy, and powerhouse vocals that make the kingdom feel lived in. Ithaca Tale commands the stage with her thunderous voice as the cruel stepmother. Victor Jackson shines as Lionel, the prince's attendant, infusing his role with warmth, charisma, and impeccable instincts. And though her appearances are brief, LaToya London leaves a lasting impression as Queen Constantina, serving regal elegance against the theatrics of an outspoken mother who longs for a grandchild. Alongside thoughtful music direction, Lane's vision is where the production distinguishes itself. Inspired in part by his late Aunt Gabriel, whom he describes as both a Cinderella and his fairy godmother, Lane grounds the story in the transformative power of being seen by someone who recognizes your gifts before the world does.
She was the one that really affirmed in me. She was the one that would take out the camcorder. She would let me do whatever, look crazy. And you needed that. And I was like, wow, she really, like, when I think about it, like, she just let me be because she saw something. She was like, my nephew is going to be something.
In a moment when many people feel unseen, Cinderella is a timely reminder that worthiness and the magic of dreaming has never just belonged to the powerful, the wealthy, or the royal few. Magic has always lived in the margins with the most resilient people and the triumphant realities they create, even when it seems impossible. Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, produced by True Colors Theater Company, is on stage at the Southwest Arts Center through July 5th. For the ATL Arts Collective, I'm Angela Oliver.
You can read Angela's full story at artsatl.org. Now, let's take a moment and get to know today's guest host, Chad Radford, a little better. As mentioned earlier, he's the former longtime music editor at Creative Loafing and founder of RadATL. So, Chad, what is the path that originally led you to music journalism?
Oh gosh, it's a long story. As a teenager, I got into skateboarding, and with that came Thrasher magazine and Trans World magazine, and I was just really into reading stories about pro skaters. And then in Thrasher magazine, they always had music reviews, and I would always read these reviews. And I lived in small town Iowa, just outside of Omaha, Nebraska, and the chances of me finding a lot of this music were very, very rare, but not impossible. In Omaha, there were a couple of really good record stores, and I could track stuff down there, or they would order it for me. But I was also reading a lot of books. I read a lot of Hunter S. Thompson, and I read Lester Bang's Psychotic Reactions and Carburetor Dung.
Nice.
At the recommendations of people I met at the record stores. And it all just sort of came naturally. There were a couple of zines, and there was a strong weekly newspaper presence in Omaha when I was growing up. They had the Reader. And one thing led to another. I was a music fan first, and the idea for me was just like, not so much, I always, and maybe later in life, I was balked at the idea of being called a critic. I was more interested in just finding out more and sharing what I found out.
We are kindred there for sure. And now you founded RadATL. How long have you been running that?
It's kind of blurry. Towards my final days at Creative Loafing, right before the pandemic really hit full steam, I was working for the Smithsonian Institute, editing their anthology of hip hop. And I got kind of a strange bug. It was like, there's a lot of music that I really love, but in the final days of like the weekly newspaper industry, it was like there was such a push to just write about music that would sell a lot of beer, at the venues. And that's neither here nor there. But it was like, there was this weird time where a lot of this music that I was really passionately into was not getting covered. And I was being told by my superiors, like, we need to write about big Atlanta and things like that. So I was like, I just need an outlet where I can write about stuff that I really love, and I don't have editors telling me this is not going to get enough clicks.
Good for you. And recently you started a live music and events calendar. And I know what an undertaking event calendars can be. In fact, we just talked about this last week with Jasmine Henschel and E.C. Flaming of Gulch. They do a visual arts calendar. So knowing what an undertaking it is, what inspired you to create a concert calendar, and how are you personally keeping up with events?
It is a labor of love. And I kind of, again, back in the creative loafing days when the page counts were disappearing, one of the first things that was cut were the concert calendar listings. And the thinking was people have phones in their pockets and they can look up what's happening anywhere at any time. But I think what we came to find out was that you can't. You have to look at every venue, every music website, everywhere just to find out what's going on. So there was no central place where people could go to look for events, music, things that are happening. And I've suffered from that. I've learned about a lot of shows the day after. And I kind of hate that. And I've been sort of kicking around the idea of doing it for a long time. And I know there are a couple other people in town that have kind of tried it. I think the downfall is that they want to make it user-generated content. Like if you have a show, they want you to go to their site and enter all the information, and that will never happen with any consistency.
Right.
So I've started it, and I kind of like made this promise to myself that I would spend an hour every day working on it, which is a lot, but I can generally find an hour or some time kind of tucked in here and there to keep it going. And I'm just like everybody else. I do the Instagram doom scroll, and I'll see a show listing, and then I'll think to myself, all right, I need to go to that show, or I need to put something about it on ATL. So what I've started doing is just I have like a little notepad in my phone, and every time I see a show, I'll just go to that notepad and say, write about this show that's happening. Jake Cook at Waller's Coffee, something like that. And, there's no money at stake for me. Sometimes I skip a day or I miss a day, but then I always try to double up the next day and make sure everything is still fresh and moving forward.
I love a labor of love that actually benefits other people. So I hope you're able to keep at it. It's very, very cool. And one of the things I saw on the most current calendar is an event that you are hosting at the Garden Club at Wild Heaven on Friday of this week, 2 days from now. What can you tell us about the upcoming screening of James Schrader's documentary film, The Tree Economy?
James Schrader is somebody that I've known in passing for decades at this point. James used to work behind the counter at Movies Worth Seeing, which was a video store over in the Virginia Highlands that closed down many, many years ago. But I used to go in there, and we would talk about David Lynch, Werner Herzog. There was another guy that worked there, and the three of us would get in these long talks about, do we prefer sci-fi over horror, and that sort of thing. And he was just part of my regular routine. I used to rent movies there all the time. I didn't see him for years and years and years. And then I was recently, I did an interview with Soleil Moonfry, who is Punky Brewster. And she had a documentary screening in the Atlanta Documentary Film Festival. And so I went there, and the same day, James's documentary, The Tree Economy, was playing. And we kind of reconnected. And I saw the film and loved it. And he's been trying to get screenings booked around town, but he had been trying to get me to line one up. And so I was thinking the Garden Club over at Wild Heaven in the West End at Lee and White would be the perfect venue. I saw Lucio Fulci's Zombie play there a while back, and I loved the experience. I loved seeing a movie there. So I reached out to the promoter, Alex Weiss at OK Productions, and within, I would say, like less than 10 seconds, he wrote back and said, yes, let's do it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they asked if I would introduce the film and host maybe like a audience Q&A session between James and the people who were there. I'm into it. So I said yes. And feels like it's picking up a lot of steam,
Oh,
especially in the
that's
last week.
great. Oh,
Mhm.
that's great. Well, that's something to look forward to for Friday.
Yeah.
And for today, you've brought us a story about Kess Fest. Would you share why this is the story you chose to amplify on the show?
Well, as part of the concert calendar, just sort of see what's happening. And I saw that Kess Fest was happening at Smith's Old Bar. It's a great room. They have two rooms. The upstairs room and the downstairs room are both pretty cool places to see music. I saw Kess Fest, so I started looking into it, and I found out that it's his birthday festival, but B, it's like for the benefit of a solid cause, the Atlanta Musicians Emergency Relief Fund. So I thought, all right, well, let's find out what this is about.
Oh, I love it. Excellent choice. And we'll be hearing that piece in just a bit. However, it's time right now for Gulch Magazine's Making It Work segment. This is where Jasmine Henschel investigates how local creatives avoid being starving artists. These are personal stories from Atlanta artists about how they make money and a life for themselves through art.
This is Jasmine Henschel of Gulch Magazine here with Patricia Hernandez.
Hola.
Thank you so much for meeting with us today and chatting. We're going to talk about how you make it work as an artist and an arts worker. So to start, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your role in the arts ecosystem of Atlanta?
Well, I am Patricia Hernandez. Mainly, I do murals. I'm a visual artist as well. And also, I am the founder of Nuestra Creación, which is a 501c3 that uplifts immigrants, LGBTQ, people of color.
So when we think about how you make it work, make a living as an artist and an arts worker, running Nuestra Creación, doing murals, all the things that you piece together, what does that actually look like month to month for you?
That's a great question. How to make it work it's just juggling around. At the end of the day, your bread and butter is going to be depending on gigs. I have 2 part-time jobs, plus me being contractor freelancer. It's like a board game. You have to just shuffle your tokens and everything just to make a living. Because I feel like even though I have been doing art for 10 years, I have not have enough visibility. And so I'm kind of battling to that. And as an immigrant, being a person of color, being a woman, being a single parent, it's things that I feel okay, I really want to reach that goal, but those barriers exist, any place in my head. So yeah, I am very blessed that since COVID, I've been making it as a living, but 6 years ago, things has been shifting drastically in the city. So, I have felt the changes that I've been going back to those survival skills that I don't want to be, but it is what it is.
So it sounds like maybe the mixture of things has changed a bit over time since when you first started doing art to now. How has that changed? What does that look like?
I always have to have something on the side. I've been in Georgia for 20-something years, and I came to the city in 2015. And since then, I've been doing art, but having these jobs on the side, like nannying, teaching Spanish, and the service industry, things like that, because I've been telling you that I'm an immigrant and I didn't go to school here, technically I raised myself in here, and just trying to navigate and knowing culture-wise and systemically wise how to navigate it in a place that is not mine, quotation. But I know I belong here. But what I was telling you before, being this survival mode that, you just got to figure it out and put this dream potential entrepreneurship vision as being an artist always having on the side. But, you have to eat. You have to feed your kids, you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your bills. So, I'm always been carrying that like on the side that has been blocking me to keep doing art, like, yeah, I need to feed my kids. Tokenizing me during Latin Heritage Month, it won't like freaking pay my bills, I built Nuestra Creación, and it's been a foundation, a security for other artists as well. I want the Nuestra being theirs. That's what it calls Nuestra, because it's theirs. And pass the torches to this new generation to don't feel like how I feel of other artists feel, afraid of pursuing their art because they have to survive. We can survive with art, but it's like, at what level?
Of course, there's a lot of balance. You always have to you have a lot of trade-offs especially if you're working multiple jobs and making art, and, you have a family and your own personal life. Are there any specific habits or mindsets that you have found to be helpful for you personally as you're finding this balance in your life between all the things?
I have to figure it out still, and, sometimes it's like an endless thing as an artist, like, okay, what's next? Yeah, it's hard for me just to find the balance of that, because sometimes you get so submerged into that and you forget how to be a person, how to be a woman, how to be a mom. It's been hard just to like being like an octopus, right? Like being taken care of all of my 8 tentacles. And it's just overwhelming. I'm a phase of transition that I am still trying to figure it out what's next for my entrepreneurship and for Nuestra Creación, which is 2 different things as well, because Nuestra is something that is for the community, but also PATL which is my brand as an artist, is mine, it's my machete,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted to keep growing.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've told us a lot about how you're making it work personally. What about Nuestra Creación? How does it survive? What are the things that you pull together to help it keep going financially and just socially? And how do you make Nuestra Creación work?
Nuestra Creación is something actually that, has grown, and I love the outcome. I love that the people love it. But again, it's another part of my tentacles that I have to take care of. It started from scratch, like out of pocket. We put so much money out of our pocket, from paying vinyls, paying pamphlets, paying flyers, things just to have the visibility within the community, like applying for grants, applying for all the stuff that it came out of my tax, my personal social security number thing, like, and I see I cannot keep like owing myself to the state or federal, whatever, like just for something that it doesn't, financially doesn't benefit me. It benefits me in my ecosystem. It benefits me in my ethics and everything and my mission. But, and it's fulfilling. It fulfills my heart, but it doesn't fulfill my pockets. It took 5 years to save up money just to register this 501c3, but it was thanks to the community. Like us, like donation. And I was saving that money and never touch it until like, okay, we have how much it costs to register, and boom, we did it. But I'm focusing more to do community-driven experiences for the people, but that funds Nuestra Creación. And it's not for me making money, it's for me, for Nuestra, to have that money to potentially, I can have a team. Potentially, I can have a social media creator or like somebody, like a communicator person in the computer, because the computer is not my forte, or things like that it takes my time. I don't know if I told you that I have my mom email, my personal email, my artist email, Nuestra email, and it's just like,
It's a lot. It's a lot to manage.
I'm in a different transition phase of my life that I feel like financial wise it's been shifting and it has affected me, my anxiety. But at the same time, it is like, it makes you question yourself, like, do I have to quit doing Nuestra? Do I have to quit doing art? And people tell me no, and I don't want to either, but, the survival mode sometimes is like, I don't know. Yeah.
Is there anything about being an artist that you think people misunderstand or don't realize financially?
Some people underestimate the fact that, okay, you're an artist. Oh, she got a house. There's so more behind that having a house. People don't freaking know that having a house doesn't shows you that you're financially stable. This is like 20 years of saving for my life. And I never, as an immigrant, never ever across my path that I will own something in this country. Never. So yeah, I feel blessed. Yeah, I feel blessed to have a roof in my head and have roof for my kids. And, and sometimes art, unfortunately, doesn't feed me at all. And it's sad. It makes me sad because I love doing art. I love making art. But at the same time, it's like, damn, and it's draining you mentally.
Mm-hmm. So if there's a new artist coming to town, moving to Atlanta, or someone just getting their start as an artist in the city, and they want to make it work here, what advice would you give them?
The advice that I will give this new artist, it is get to know the culture of Atlanta. But I will suggest this person to get involved in the community more. But I will always pray for this artist to believe in their instincts, believe in their energy, believe the energy that different groups or different demographics among the community, it speaks for them. And that's the only way that you can learn. Again, I've been here for 20 years and I'm still getting to know different areas in the city with artists, as long as they found that safe space that speaks for themselves. That's what I recommend.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that you want to invite people to?
Yeah. Okay. One thing that I just want to say is, if anybody curators or gallery owners or creative organizations, what else? Collectors, do more your research. Mm-hmm. I will recommend these people to directly find the artist, that speaks for them. As I was telling you, for the new artists coming in town, I speak up the same way of potential clients, potential collectors, curators that wants to really make Atlanta art visible, to do their research. Another thing that I'm going to say, just follow Nuestra Creación, because we're going to have different art activations. But yeah, we're having Nuestra Creación on October 5th at Eco Contemporary Arts. And we're going to drop the art invitation, art call for artists with different backgrounds, in Hispanic, biracials, whoever are welcome. So we just want to showcase you guys in this amazing gallery that we've been showcased more than 500 artists from 2019. So, just that. And yeah, follow me on PATL, SV Art, but go to my website, which is that, and you're going to find out more about who I am, where I'm from.
Okay. Any final things you want to share before we close?
I just want to share, let's artists get together, let's support each other. But that's it. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for talking with us today. We love you too, and we want to support the work you're doing, and we really appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing your stories.
Thank you.
The annual Nuestra Creación art show takes place in early October and will again be held at Echo Contemporary Gallery. Later this summer, they'll be putting up a call for art on their Instagram. They are at Nuestra Creación, so be sure to follow and stay updated. And thank you for this piece, Jasmine. You can catch Gulch's Making It Work segment on the last Wednesday of each month. In just a moment, we'll hear about Kess Fest coming to Smith's Old Bar this Sunday. Back in a minute.
Support comes from Mainline Magazine, announcing its weekend-long independent music festival from September 11th to 13th. The independently curated 3-day event features 22 live acts performing in multiple venues spanning Little Five Points, Summerhill, and Decatur. Headliners include CDSM, Scatterbrain, Janie Danger, Mulus, Jonna Camille, Major, and more. Early tickets and more information are at mainlineatl.com/tickets.
Welcome back to the ATL Arts Collective. I'm Kim Drobes, joined today by our guest co-host and music journalist, Chad Radford.
Hi, Kim.
Hey, Chad. So you've been working on a piece about a special event happening this weekend.
That's right. Kess Fest is back this Sunday, and it's all about supporting and celebrating the behind-the-scenes people who make live music happen in Atlanta.
Yeah, you're talking about the sound engineers, lighting techs, production managers, security. And for this particular show, they are all coming together to benefit the Atlanta Musicians Emergency Relief Fund. It's a packed night of 4 bands, a film screening, and a full-frequency DJ set. Chad recently caught up with the event's founder to find out how it all came together.
This is the third installment of Kess Fest, organized by drummer and Smith's Old Bar production manager Noah Kess. The bands playing come from across the city and across genres to celebrate Kess's 37th birthday and to benefit a righteous cause.
The first year, I had recently become a member of the team at Smith's Old Bar on the engineering team. So the staff / myself kind of put together like a birthday celebration where all the bands performing were also all sound guys. So it was like a meetup for all kind of the production people in that area. And then Kess Fest 2 was kind of the same thing. And both of those were pre-pandemic. So then I stopped doing it, obviously, because of the shutdown. And then I thought this year, because we had an open space to fill at Smith's, where I'm still production managing at, we had a date to fill, which is June 28th, happens to be the day after my birthday. But when I was thinking about it, I wanted to kind of do something more than just have a birthday party.
He went on to explain that while planning this year's Kess Fest, he was hired to fill in working production at the Inman Park Festival and Tour of Homes, where he learned about the Atlanta Musicians Emergency Relief Fund, also known as AMERF. This nonprofit organization provides financial assistance to professional musicians and music production professionals facing unexpected hardships such as medical emergencies, accidents, or other financial crises.
I happened to be talking to a couple of the representatives while I was setting up the audio gear, and I came to find out that the guy who I was hired to be there, who had done it in years past, he had a heart attack, and AMERF is covering many of his expenses, like some of his bills, some of his medical expenses, taking care of a lot of stuff that needs to get done. So I came to be like, man, I'd really want to support this organization more. And so it all kind of came together, and I said, why don't we make Kess Fest about getting more money to them? Because, I mean, the best charity is keeping it local and keeping it in the community where we already are.
That's this year's headliner for Kess Fest, the Fourth Ward Afro Klezmer Orchestra performing their song Toko Hills Kaddish Club. Kess Fest's lineup features bands whose members also work in Atlanta's live music production industry. Each band brings a singular take on alternative rock, punk, Americana, jazz, and more.
We're going to have Albatross as the opening band, headed by Josh Bennett. He's the production manager at Tabernacle. And then second off is going to be Nobody's Darlings. They're headed by Sean Pasley, and he's a sound guy. And sometimes has other sound guys in the band. Sometimes they're just musicians. I don't want to say just. That's the sound guy in me. And then The Head is going to be third. That's all also production guys with Jacob Morrell. It's kind of a three-way leadership on that, but Jacob's the main guy who I know, and he is a freelance audio guy around town. And then the Fourth Ward Afro Klezmer Orchestra is going to close it down, and that's me. And everyone in that band are all just crazy musicians that play with everybody in town.
Roger Russo is the founder, improviser, trumpet, and cornet player behind the Fourth Ward Afro Klezmer Orchestra's wide-ranging palette of musical inflections. This 9-piece version of the group brings a high-energy blend of Balkan, Central African, pop, rock, blues, metal, Eastern and Western European, and North American musical styles to the stage. Their set includes structured original numbers along with covers of tunes by Sun Ra and Miles Davis, leaving plenty of room for expansion in their performance at Kess Fest, all benefiting AMERF and helping musicians in need.
I was mentioning this gig to somebody I was talking to today, talking about places where this person has worked as a professional musician and worked in different ways in New York or Los Angeles, where they have a good union. And so the union does offer some help, assistance when people are having medical issues or financial difficulties. And plus, there's also insurance that could be associated with some of the union stuff. How great it is or how bad it is, I don't know. And there's different organizations like this around different cities in Chicago, New York, Seattle, Los Angeles, Atlanta, New Orleans, where there are different funds, for people who aren't union musicians. Historically in the United States, being a professional musician doesn't generally tend to carry a really good health insurance plan.
Kess Fest 3 at Smith's Old Bar is this Sunday, June 28th. The event begins with an early screening of the film Homicide Don't Die and concludes with an after-party set from DJ Full Frequency. Doors open at 6 p.m. For the ATL Arts Collective, I'm Chad Radford.
Thank you, Chad. The third biannual Elizabeth B. Stevens International Organ Competition begins tomorrow at Peachtree Road United Methodist Church of Atlanta. The event attracts young organists from around the world. And as ArtsATL music reporter Jordan Owen explains, 6 exceptional organists are coming to Atlanta to compete for prize money totaling $21,000.
The interior of Peachtree Road United Methodist Church of Atlanta is a labyrinthine realm of towering white columns and long echoing corridors. It captures that classic Methodist aesthetic, at once majestic and full of spiritual reverie, while at the same time solemn and unadorned. It is a place where whispered voices resonate across cavernous chambers, and a gentle stillness overtakes visitors in a manner that makes the hustle and bustle of Buckhead seem lost in another dimension. It is not difficult to see why such immaculate grandeur and ethereal acoustics would be the scene of the Elizabeth B. Stevens International Organ Competition. But for competition organizer Sally Stevens Westmoreland, the location is inextricably linked to a remarkable woman and the legacy she left behind.
It's named for my mom, who died 6 years ago, right before COVID hit, so it was pretty good timing on her part so that we could have great celebrations of her life, My brothers and I lived in different corners of the U.S. at that point in time. One had been in Wyoming for 15 years as a guide in the wilderness areas. And then my other brother was in Pennsylvania being a chemistry teacher at one of the universities there in the Philadelphia suburbs. And so I was the only one here in Atlanta, which is where Mom had lived the last 48 years of her marriage. And really, right at her death, which was to be expected, she was in declining health and whatnot. But wrapped up in all of, that, we just sort of came away from it wanting to do something that really did, keep her legacy alive.
Although Stevens had been an organist at Peachtree Road UMC for 27 years, her accomplishments reached far and wide across the Atlanta community, and she devoted herself extensively to the city's thriving arts community.
Really, she was much more involved on an hourly basis, a day and a week and a month and whatnot. in helping arts organizations, joining the Atlanta Symphony Associates in 1972, when honestly that group of volunteer women really did sort of run the symphony office. There was not like a huge number of people who were there administratively. It was just, trying to pay for Robert Shaw by the skin on their chin and relying on these women to really get the rest of the stuff done in terms of, general management behind the scenes with the symphony players and, rehearsals and everything that went on. It was a big ask, and those women did a great job.
Stevens eventually moved on from the ASA to another Atlanta institution, the Center for Puppetry Arts, also known as the CPA. By the time she passed in 2020, Stevens had been the organization's longest-serving board member. Westmoreland began reaching out to the CPA and other organizations for ideas on how to celebrate her mother's memory, but nobody seemed to have anything that really stood out. A chance meeting with Scott Atchison, director of music and organist at Peachtree Road, UMC, finally gave Westmoreland the vision she'd been seeking. She had been considering sponsoring an organ concert series at the church when Atchison suggested it be a full-fledged competition.
So I came back to the church one day, and I'm chatting with Scott Atchison, who, of course, has been here now 44 years. He just had his 44th anniversary. And she adored him as an organist and really appreciated what he did with the music program here at the church. As a matter of fact, the chancel choir, where I sang for years and years and years, used to dub her as the patron saint of choir tours, because she would sort of step up to the plate and make sure that absolutely everybody that wanted to go could go. So anyway, I said, I just can't stand it. Then I've been working this for months with my brother, and we just have not been able to come up with, something that's really going to be a legacy-like gift to the city of Atlanta and to other people, like young organists. And I said, I can't believe I'm going to have to settle for sponsoring an organ, concert series. He was like, organ concert series? What are you talking about? We must do an international organ competition. And I said, well, how do you do that? And he said, I have no idea, but we'll find out.
Their findings soon paid off, and the inaugural competition was held in 2022.
So that was the beginning of it. And by 2022, we had a few of those ducks in a row and had the inaugural event. Great turnout. We might have been a little bit more Catholic-minded than we needed to be, because we didn't give the applicants any required repertoire. It's like the whole point was to give them the opportunity to be as creative as they wanted to be and coming up with their own program design. And if they were by chance and luck and hard work selected as one of the 6 finalists to come to Atlanta, they'd be able to play whatever they wanted to play, not, subject the judges to hearing the same thing 6 times over and over and over again.
Applicants were given the opportunity to submit recorded applications for a bid to be one of 6 performing finalists. Westmoreland had been thinking the competition would be lucky to receive 40 applications, but was pleasantly surprised when 72 arrived. Westmoreland says the international market responded enthusiastically.
So we had 72 applicants to that, and I'd been chatting with the people in Canada, with the Canadian organ competition, and not that far away in Philadelphia, the Longwood Gardens organ competition, and Schweitzer in Boston. I mean, I talked to everybody, St. Albans in England, and they all said, just don't worry about having too many applicants and having a recorded round jury underwater. You'll be lucky to have 40. So I was sort of thinking I was going to be lucky to have 40, and then we had 72. So that did, though, reach out to the whole world. I mean, of the folks that were here for the 6 finalists, 2 were from France, and 1 was from South Korea, and 1 was from Italy, and 1 was from England, and none were from the United States, which was astonishing.
Additional refinements to the application process and competition came in subsequent years, and the event is now both free to the public and live-streamed all over the world. Applicants compete for cash prizes of $12,000, $6,000, and $3,000, all underwritten by Westmoreland and her brothers. All finalists will present a self-selected work from the classical canon written prior to 1750, as well as Kairos by Pamela Decker. Westmoreland emphasizes that, with the exception of the Decker piece, the tremendous amount of breathing room afforded to the contestants in designing their program is an important part of the process.
We're, again, making sure that they realized, without giving them too much more than you must play the Pamela Decker Kairos piece, we want to be sure that they really do understand that they've got carte blanche on picking what they're going to pick, but their entire program design, how it is presented, how they play technically, how, if they choose to say any verbal program notes, how that comes across, whether or not they truly engage the audience. That's all being taken into account rather than just, counting, technical stuff.
Westmoreland is enthusiastic about the future of the competition and notes that her long-term goal is for players to perform a piece commissioned specifically for the event. In the meantime, the peaceful resonance of those long, immaculate corridors will soon be filled with the celestial aura of competitive spirit. The competition final round will take place on June 27. These performances are free and open to the public. For the ATL Arts Collective, I'm Jordan Owen.
You can read Jordan's full story on artsatl.org. And now, let's turn to ArtsATL Executive Editor Shane Harrison. Each week, he stops by to break down his top cultural picks for the week. And today, his curated mix includes the Southern Fried Queer Festival, the Classic Remix Festival's Gala Concert, and a screening of High Fidelity with John Cusack.
This coming week is packed with music, but it's also still Pride Month. The Southern Fried Queer Pride Festival continues this weekend with two of its biggest events. In the 2026 Peach Pit Pageant, a drag competition, 7 contestants will strut their stuff to claim the crown, while DJ Abby Deer spins tracks beginning at 9 p.m. on June 25th at 7 stages. And on June 28th, Cinequeer, a queer film night, happens at 7 p.m. June 28th at the Plaza Theater to mark the end of the Southern Fried Queer Pride 2026 Festival with screenings of films, shorts, and more. On June 25th, in celebration of America's 250th anniversary, the Classical Remix Festival will host its gala concert at the Trolley Barn, featuring musicians from the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, Kansas City Symphony, Detroit Symphony Orchestra, Ensemble Vim, and others. The lineup is an eclectic mix, curated thoughtfully by festival founder Alice Hong. The first half includes Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine, Ray Charles' version of Hoagie Carmichael's Georgia on My Mind, and George Gershwin's 3 Preludes, among others. The second half closes with Aaron Copland's Appalachian Spring, a sweeping American epic that required expanding the ensemble from last year's 10 musicians to this year's 13. 2 contemporary pieces round out the program: Hong's own Pomegranate Noir, a short tender work commissioned in memory of a grandmother, and Threnody by Jeremy Krosmer, a cellist and composer with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. On June 28th, the festival will host 8 Cellos of Atlanta around the world in 80 minutes at St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Midtown. The concert features 8 cellists performing a program intended to take audiences on a journey across continents. The show travels from Japan with an arrangement of the Studio Ghibli theme, My Neighbor Totoro, to Ireland for the folk tune Danny Boy, and to France for Gabriel Fauré's stately Pavane. The program will also include 2 very different takes on the 4 seasons, with Vivaldi's Baroque classic Summer and Astor Piazzolla's tango-infused version from Buenos Aires. And speaking of South America, Colombian superstar Shakira will perform at State Farm Arena on Friday, June 26th, and on Sunday, June 28th. The shows take place on the same weekend as Atlanta hosts its final FIFA World Cup group stage match at nearby Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Continuing the musical theme, the Fox Theater will host a screening of High Fidelity, along with a live conversation with the film's star, John Cusack. The film, released in 2000 and based on the book by Nick Hornby, is about a record store owner and compulsive list maker who recounts his worst breakups. See it at 8 p.m. Friday, June 26th. British comedian and actor Paul Chowdhury became the first comedian of Asian heritage to sell out Wembley Arena in London in 2017. And he's released 4 stand-up comedy specials, including What's Happening, White People. He'll bring his Artificial Indian Tour to center stage on Sunday, June 28th. It's a rescheduled Atlanta date, as he was originally booked at the Buckhead Theater back in January. That gig was canceled due to icy weather. The Buckhead Theater will also play host to comedy this weekend, as Paula Poundstone takes the stage on Friday, June 26th. Poundstone has been performing since 1979 and is probably best known as a frequent panelist on NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me. For the ATL Arts Collective and ArtsATL, I'm Shane Harrison.
Shane actually curates an even longer list each week, and you can find all of his picks at artsatl.org. And with that, we have reached the end of today's show. But before we go, a huge thank you to you, my co-host for today, Chad Radford. Chad, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you for having me, Kim. It's been a total pleasure.
Thank you again, Chad, and thank you for listening to the ATL Arts Collective. You can join us on social at ArtsAtlanta as well as at ATL Arts Collective. You'll find pictures and links related to today's show at artsatl.org/podcast. If you'd like to buy the podcast a cup of coffee, you can learn more about how to support the show on atlartscollective.com. And while you're listening right now, please subscribe, rate, and review. It really does help others find the show. Our theme music is K. Michelle Dubois' Hit the Deck from her album Astral Heart, courtesy of Wicked Superb Records. The ATL Arts Collective is part of the Wordplay Collective podcast family. Check out our sister show, In Pieces with Our Land, for conversations with artist Our Land. Thanks again for listening. I'm Kim Drobes, and this is the ATL Arts Collective.
Hey y'all, I'm Naja Parker, co-host of the It's You ATL podcast, powered by the AJC.
Hey y'all.
Hello.
Ooh, twins.
Where we break down the stories, trends, and conversations shaping Black culture in Atlanta and across the South. From music and entertainment to politics, relationships, and community issues, if it's happening in the culture, we're talking about it. Listen to It's You ATL wherever you get your podcast.